everybody, and welcome back to The Spiritual Leader. Laura and I back with you again today. Just, 10, 11 days from Christmas. I'm sure everybody's, going to this program and school program. And, used to think people do last-minute shopping, but seems like most of the people I know are done shopping before December's even here.
My mom, I think, was finished in October.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah, and I finished well beforehand.
So we've got, obviously here at the church, there's all kind of stuff always going on year round. But, December seems to be a little bit of a busier time. I think you mentioned that in the last podcast. But, Laura, in the last, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but in the last couple of years, it just seems like to me there's this just whole attitude of just everything's busy.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked a lot about this, and, we got to be careful with that because, the scripture says, Romans 12:2, do not conform to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, in hopes of that we would actually walk in what God's plan is.
Yeah.
And I believe that the spirit of the world does have a busy spirit or busy attitude attached to it.
Yes.
But I know that God's kingdom is, it's peace, it's joy, it's fulfillment, it's, functioning in our grace and all those things. So we really, really have to be careful and aware of that. So what we started last week in kind of, uncovering this process that may be new to some people, maybe you've never really, walked any of these things out, but we kind of, led into kind of doing an end of year review as what we call it here at the ministry, but really like a personal
taking inventory,
an assessment of this year as it pertains to your life, your family, and all those areas that we focus in on every day. Family, marriage, finances, health, career, etc. But we walked through the questions of, did I do what the Lord asked me to do? What was a distraction? If you didn't hear last week's podcast, obviously you should go back and listen because what we're talking about today is connected to that. But we said what things limited me or caused me to not accomplish maybe what the Lord had for me. What did I focus on, or was I able to focus on things that are the most important?
Yeah.
Most people, Laura, if they answer that question honestly, most people will say, no, I was just talking to a guy a couple of days ago. He said, I've been putting out little fires all day.
I was going to say, you find yourself just being busy with whatever's like right before you. It's that little yapping dog. And instead of focusing on or giving your attention to the main thing, it's whatever gets in your way at that moment. And I was thinking about what you were just saying with the world, and it's got that spirit of busyness and chaos and just stress, anxiety, and exhaustion. And if you look back over 2022 and, you're taking inventory and you're reflecting on last year, and if you're honest with yourself and you may go, I was really stressed in 2022, or I was unbelievably busy, then I think those are some areas, or whatever area you were busy in, those are some things you need to kind of pinpoint and go, why was I so busy? Why was I so stressed? Why was I so exhausted? Because perhaps there were some things that you were doing that you should not have been doing. Wow. There may be some things that you need to pull away from, some things that you need to cut ties with, because if you are saying yes to everything, and if you're busy doing everything, then it will absolutely keep you from the most important thing, the thing that God has for you. And in these last days, it's important, Darren, to be in that place that God has called us to function from. I was thinking, like, just on a practical matter here, that if you are so busy throughout your day, and I get pretty busy, and then, you're rushing to the grocery store and you're trying to get through there as quickly as you can because you've got, 5 other things that you got to do when you get home, and you're so focused on just, your grocery list. It's like the Lord may have something for you to do in that grocery store. There may be a divine appointment that there's somebody in there that he wants you to minister to bring life to pray for, to encourage. But if you're so busy, you're so amped up, you're so focused, you'll miss that opportunity. So that's just something on an everyday, very practical level. And it shows one of the reasons why we need to get unbusy. And I know a lot of times, because I'm like this, if you're not busy, you don't feel productive. But that really is, that's part of that world system. It's a lie of the enemy to keep you in that place of busyness, to keep you on that hamster wheel so you're not able to fulfill and walk in all that God has for you. And that's what we want to do. Going into 2023, we want to make some adjustments. We want to tweak some things, change some things so that 2023 looks different than 2022.
Yeah, and I think that could be absolutely the case. But I keep thinking about this word. I could actually see this book cover that I have somewhere. It's called Boundaries. Yeah. And it's just super interesting. There's two things that kind of connect with boundaries. I think one of the keys to boundaries is having some accountability. Yeah. And we all need that. We all probably need someone that we could, maybe a close friend, a spouse, a pastor, someone over something at your church, etc. Someone that we could really just connect with to provide some accountability. Yeah. But boundaries, Laura, are so important, I feel, because we're just kind of being bounced around a lot. Yeah. And if we're not careful, we'll get bounced right out of the things that we're actually called to do.
Yeah, and that's the most important. That's where peace is at. That's where joy is at. That's where fulfillment is at.
Absolutely.
Purpose.
Absolutely, and the plan of God. So we kind of discussed a lot of this last week, and I encourage you, if you jotted down any particular things last week, you need to add a couple of these things to it. The importance of, being peaceful, not being rushed, not allowing that busyness to come over you, setting up some boundaries. I don't know about you. I used to bowl years ago, and
Did you?
A little bit on and off. When I was a teenager, I was okay.
I learned something new.
I was okay. I did a couple little leagues, but it never really went anywhere. But
bowling league.
But I know, like when we would have the kids, you'd see little kids there and things. They'd set up those what do they call those things?
The rails.
The rails.
Yeah.
And so the ball can't go in the gutter because that's pretty demoralizing, right? When the ball goes in the gutter every time, you're not knocking any pins down. You feel like a big loser. But I think in our lives, if the ball keeps going in the gutter, we might need to set up some rails, to kind of keep things in the pathway of where they need to be. So I think going through now, preparing for 2023, I think we introduced last week, I don't know if we did or not, but what can we do better in 2023? These are all questions, again, that you should write down or at least go back over and think over.
You can always improve. And maybe you were really strong in one particular area. You're really strong in your marriage or your family or your health, but maybe this area over here just, it was suffering. So then you can bring some attention to that. Say, okay, how can I get back on track regarding my health or regarding my family or regarding my call? What God has called me to. What can I do to improve?
I like that. How to stay faithful to what He's called us to do. It's so important. And we said last week, obviously you need to write these things down. Habakkuk chapter 2, when we hear from the Lord.
You have to. You'll forget.
Yes. You'll forget. Write it down. As far as accountability is concerned, give it to a close friend. I know one of my brother-in-laws said he works with his neighbor who's very goal-oriented. He submits his kind of goals to him, and they have some kind of an accountability, thing set up.
Well, I was going to say, and maybe this will help somebody here, but on most Sundays in the afternoon, we have a time when we are to get together and we are to go over our weekly schedule. And so we're to make sure that, we're obviously in sync with what's going on with the kids and things like that. But what a powerful time to be able to say, okay, I've got my time with the Lord. I've got family's important to me. So this week I have prioritized Thursday from 6 to 8. You know, we're going to have dinner and game night, or I'm taking one of my children out for a date, or whatever it may be. But if you have that weekly time where you review your schedule that's coming up, instead of life just coming at you, then it's like you're able to really kind of take control of life. And I just think, you know, nobody likes the words like discipline, self-control, things like that. But I'll tell you, if you can learn to live a disciplined life, it will take you farther. You will be happier and healthier because of it.
So good. I think what you just said that's it.
And you can reevaluate when you get together before the week is beginning. Like, okay, did I miss it this last week? How can I improve? How can I make changes? And don't dwell if you screwed up royally that last week and you didn't have any time for your health or your family because just things happen. Yeah. So, all right, that's not going to happen again. Yeah. Okay, and just put it back on the calendar and just move forward.
This kind of reminds me of you're a big, well, not as big, but still a big football fan. And it's interesting because imagine if an NFL or even college football team, they start their season and never, not one time, review what it is they're going to do and make changes for the following week. It'd be a disaster.
It'll be the cycle.
They'll be doing the same thing. And Laura, I really, this is, so powerful. If we can actually set up that weekly, again, accountability, those boundaries, to review. Yeah. That is what really hurts so many people is we get stuck in this routine and we don't have a way to assess where we are, and then we get to the end of the year and say, what did God ask us to do again?
Going back to Habakkuk, we write the vision down. Once we've pulled away, once we spend time with the Lord, once the Lord has ministered to us, given us a word for that next year, ministered to us regarding our finances, our family, our marriage, our call, our health, all those different areas, and we've written those down, what a fine time each week to just kind of pull them out and to just go back over, because oftentimes we'll forget. You get busy, you get caught up, but pull it back out, reel yourself back in, and make sure that, okay, this next week I'm going to be tackling, I'm investing in each of these areas in, this form or fashion.
It's so powerful. And I'm just seeing this as like a huge, huge key right now to us being able to live more meaningful lives, more like fulfilled lives, more, you use the word discipline, but discipline obviously is an essential, but discipline, it actually helps us to stay on track,
it does.
With things. But that weekly thing, wow, I'm just really seeing that as a key, even for you in, 2023 as the new year begins. I believe that the Lord is actually speaking to so many that are listening. I know my heart's actually pricked right now to be reminded of the power behind a weekly ritual of evaluating, looking at goals, looking at tasks,
Well, let me give you another little tip or nugget that I use. The Lord had been dealing with me for probably the last 2 years of just really focusing more on my health. And I've always thought, I'm healthy and don't have any issues.
Was that the Lord dealing with you, or was I
It was both. I've got great metabolism, got great genes, but I knew that the Lord was dealing with me. So really in July of this year, I just decided, okay, I'm just going to go all in, and I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start, taking good supplements and things like that. I've never been a morning person of, definitely not exercising in the morning, but I'm like, I am doing this. So a couple things that I do, because I've got videos that I watch the night before, I go ahead and I get the video ready on my TV, and then I pause it. I move the furniture out of the way that needs to be out of the way. And then upstairs in my bedroom, I go ahead and I put out, my workout clothes that I'm going to wear. So as soon as my alarm goes off, I jump right up, I put my clothes on, I walk right downstairs, I unpause the TV, and I'm ready to go. But just
The plan.
Taking those few little steps the night before. And I've got my water right there in the room. I've got the fan going. So I have everything prepared beforehand to be able to move into that. And I think it's helped me really to stay on track and to remain successful.
Yeah, and part of that, even with the once a week, maybe with spouse or a friend. If you're married, you obviously should do that with your spouse. If you're not, that's find a close friend. But I think in that, even part of that planning process is uncovering maybe things that have to be done ahead of time, things that need to be prepared for. Which is always helpful. And, I'm thinking of that comment or statement that I've heard years and years ago. People don't plan to fail. They just simply fail to plan. I'm going to say that again because it's so powerful. True. People don't plan to fail. They simply fail to plan. And really, this is all we're talking about. Yeah. I think, Laura, if all of us just, well, you in particular, if you enter into 2023 without a vision, without a plan, without setting up boundaries, without, hearing from the Lord, without having accountability, you're basically you've made a plan to fail.
It's the practical and the spiritual, coming together.
Wow. Yes. That's so good.
You gotta
the natural
have
and the
both.
supernatural.
Yeah, you got to have both. I mean, you may, the Lord's moving on you. Oh, yes, Lord, I'm feeling it. Oh, I got it. But if you don't ever make a
She's
plan,
talking about me.
If you don't ever make a plan to walk those things out, it'll just be a moment that has passed with time.
A moment of inspiration, and that's what I have been a lot over the years, an inspiration junkie. I love the adrenaline, and I love the feeling of,
but you got to put legs to it.
Laura, that's why you and I are a perfect couple. I was praying this morning. Well, actually, we were praying, and I thought, Laura she has been sent to me by the Lord. She is a helper. A helper who, in her own right, has her own call and, grace and anointing. And you're just beautiful in every possible way. But I really, need to rely more on Laura and be a better communicator because a lot of her skill sets are skill sets that I don't possess. And, she's talking about she's got her clothes ready and this and that and everything's set up. And, I've really struggled in some of those areas. But, we can help each other.
Yeah.
We can help each
other.
That
accountability partner that will help keep you on track.
So Laura texted me last night, go to bed at a certain time.
Wake up at this time.
Exercise, and then we'll have some prayer time. That really kind of made a huge difference for me.
Yeah.
So it's okay to rely on one another, in a relationship and a connection. And that may be the accountability and boundaries that, you may need. Maybe you're struggling trying to do it all on your own. And, listen, after 20 plus years of kind of, living as an adult, it's like you kind of have an idea of your strengths and weaknesses.
It's okay to ask for help.
Yes, it's okay. And ask the Lord for help.
Yeah.
I actually have that written down, Laura. Where was it? What skill sets do I need to surround myself in order for the vision or direction that the Lord gave me for it to come to pass? I'm going to say that again. There may be something in you or in me, in you and Laura, that we don't possess, but it's a needed skill in order for us to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's where we can kind of work with each other.
Yeah.
I reach out to people all the time that are organizers and different ones that have skill sets that I don't have. Why? I feed off of that because I need it. I know I need it, and I know the plan of God won't come to pass.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, man. There's a lot of things here, but
it's a lot to chew on.
It is. So
go back over it.
Yes, go back over both of them. Review this year, 2022. Prepare ahead of time for 2023. What can you do better? What can you do for the Lord that's more impactful?
What are you going to leave behind in 2022?
What are you going to let go of? What are you going to move forward into? Yeah. These are all very, very important things. We want you to succeed, amen?
Yeah.
In 2023, we want you to succeed in the end of 2022. We want your marriage to succeed in all those areas that are important to you. We want you to fulfill what God has for you. So listen, I trust that you got something out of this time. I know I've actually gotten a lot out of it. I believe that'll help me in moving forward. So listen, we love you, and we really are believing. I feel a connection with you that are listening, and we're believing with you for just the best things that God has to come to pass in your life, in your family, in your finances, your health. And we just pray as you close out 2022, man, that just even the goodness of the Lord will be poured out on you in 2022. And, maybe you need to take a time and just thank God for the things that he's, done for you in 2022. And just kind of praise yourself into 2023 and just ask the Lord to keep his hand upon you, because he will. Amen. Listen, we love you, and we'll see you real soon. God bless.